We're really excited to have you here today to talk about our accounting program. We'll give it a minute or two, make sure everybody is joining our call, and then dive in with some introductions. So first of all, I'd like to just introduce myself. I'm Joanna Siebert. I'm the Associate Director of our Business and Technology Programs for UC Davis Extension. And joining me today is Michelle Dowling, who's a Public Education Specialist here at Extension. We also have two guest speakers that I'm really excited to welcome. We'll be hearing in a little bit from one of our alums from our certificate program, Terry Taylor. We'll be talking about her experiences as a student in the program and how that skills that she's developed have been useful in her career. And then we also have Janae Klinke here from Becker Professional Education. So she'll talk about becoming a CPA and kind of share some information, because we know a lot of our prospective students and current students are really interested in that option and like to learn a little bit more about that. So before we dive in, Michelle, why don't you start by sharing some good news for our information session participants?
Yeah, so welcome everyone. As you may have noticed when you registered, you are going to receive a $100 off discount code for attending today's session. So we're going to send this discount after the presentation. We hope to get an email out to you folks later this week. It's a one-time code, but you can use it for any of your future classes. So it's just a little incentive to get started in the program.
Great, thank you. So as you can see, this is our agenda for the call today. I'll talk a little bit about UC Davis Extension so you can learn a little bit about us and what we do here and really our passion for helping lifelong learners. And then we'll hear from Terry again about her experiences and how this program has really helped her continue on her path. And then I'll share a little bit of information about our accounting program, including our spring and summer courses that are upcoming, so you can learn more about those. Then Michelle will talk a little bit about our program discounts that are available to you and financing options for your education. And then from there, we'll hear from Janae about the path to becoming a CPA, and we'll have lots of time for questions and answers about everything that we've been talking about and anything that you're interested and learning more about. So we really want to encourage everybody to participate in the session as much as possible. At any time, you can submit questions through the Q&A box feature. There will be a couple of key points when we will actually pause to take questions, and we'll try to let you know ahead of time that those are coming so you can get your questions in. And then again, as I mentioned at the end, there will be that opportunity. And then you're always welcome to contact us afterward, and we'll make sure that you get the information you need. So let's start with a little bit of a poll. The first question that I'd like to know is, have you ever taken a class at UC Davis Extension before? It's pretty simple. It's a yes or no, but this gives you a chance to test out the technology. There are some technical requirements. So for those of you who have that already set up, we would love to hear from you about your experiences here at UC Davis Extension. So go ahead and log your responses, and in a minute we'll display those results.
All right, from reviewing our results, it looks like the majority of you have not taken a course at UC Davis Extension before, so about 86% of you. And then there are a few, about 10-15% that have taken a class before. So it's good for us to know, and hopefully that was an easy poll to administer.
Great. So a little bit about UC Davis Extension. We provide high quality continuing and professional education, and our goal is really to deliver courses and programs that help professionals advance or even change their careers. We work closely with faculty at UC Davis, as well as professionals in the field to develop and teach our courses. And there's a long history here of service to our local communities, as well as our sort of national and international communities, to really create opportunities for our students. In the accounting program, you'll earn academic credit while learning the principles and practices of accounting and financial reporting. As I mentioned, we have students who are interested in pursuing a new career and are really looking to develop skills and network with instructors and with colleagues to do it. We have others who are already working in the field and are interested to have a specific goal, either by taking a specific class or by taking a whole certificate program, or in this case, possibly pursuing the CPA exam track. And so we really work closely with everybody to support their needs and interests, and are always available to meet with people and advise on some best options for them. Great. So another poll is, we'd like to know why you're interested in this program. Are you currently working in accounting and looking to advance skills? Are you looking for a career change? Are you a lifelong learner? Are you interested in getting a certificate? Or do you have a friend or colleague who recommended this? Or is there another reason? Did you see some marketing that was appealing to you? And so we'll again give those a chance to come in.
We're just waiting for the rest of you to give your answers, and then we'll go ahead and put those results up. All right.
Great. So it looks like the majority of you are actually looking for a career change, which is very common among our students taking continuing education courses. And then there are quite a few that are looking to advance their skills in accounting, which is really exciting. And this program definitely is designed for that. And then we have a large portion that have other reasons for being here, and we would love to hear what those reasons are. You can always connect with us after this, and we can talk about how we can support you with that. And of course, we always support the lifelong learning and the desire to really grow. The certificates are a very common pathway for us at Extension, and we're happy to talk. We'll be talking today about taking individual courses as well as their certificates, so you can hear more about that. And again, we'll have chances for you to submit your questions as we go through the presentation. So what we were hoping to do is hear from Terry, and I'm not sure that we've been able to connect with her online yet. So we will move forward and hear about that in a little bit. But to help before we dive into some program-related information, let's take one more poll, which is learning from you about whether you're interested in taking specific courses or if you're thinking about a certificate. And again, we'll wait and give everybody a chance to answer. Okay, and we're going to take a look at those results. Great. So 83% of you are interested in a certificate. So we will definitely talk with you about that today, and also go over some of the individual courses that you can take and what the requirements are for you to be able to do that. Great. And so I believe that we're ready now to have Terry. Not yet. Okay. So I will share a little bit of information first about the accounting program. So as I mentioned, you can take courses individually or as part of a certificate. In a little bit, we'll share more about the classes, but our one of the courses that we recommend as a starting point is our Principles of Financial Accounting course, and that serves as a prerequisite for some of our other courses. And it's also a great course to take if you're not sure if you want to do a certificate or what your needs are. You can go ahead and take that course and then talk with instructors and talk with us and figure out, we can help you figure out what your goals are. And then we will have information for you about our programs after this, but we can also take a look at our website. That's where most of the up-to-date information is. And if at any time that you're interested in taking a course that's not currently being offered, you can select Notify Me to hear when enrollment is open. So that's a great way. We are always interested to know if we're not currently offering something that you have an interest in. That helps us understand your needs more than that. So we have, at this time, we have 2 certificate options. One of them is the Essentials track, and we have a CPA track. And as I said, we're one of the hallmarks of UC Davis Extension is that we're constantly looking at the industry and looking to update our offerings. So, we'll be looking at that in the months ahead, and we'll be working on really creating compelling programs that keep everybody engaged and really meet your needs. So again, as you take a look at the program information, we'd love to hear from you about what your needs and interests are. So I am going to turn it over now to Terry. So Terry, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you've been very busy, and we love to hear from our students who have completed the program and hear about your experiences. So Terry, would you mind introducing yourself, and then we have some great questions for you.
Terry, can you hear us? All right, I apologize. It looks like we're having a little bit of difficulty connecting with Terry. I think we'll go ahead and move ahead and maybe try to solve that technical issue before the end of the session. Thank you for your patience, everybody.
And we do want to build in your questions as participants for Terry. So if there are things that you would like to hear specifically from one of the students in our program, please feel free to add those to the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar, so that you can pose those questions ahead of time, and we'll see if we can get them addressed. And again, if we're not able to today, then we will be happy to follow up with you so you have information in the future. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our spring courses. As I mentioned, the Principles of Financial Accounting course is an entry point to the program. And it's one of our most popular courses. In the spring, it'll be offered online, and our spring starts on April 2nd. And one of the things that I think is important to know about our online courses is that each class does follow a weekly schedule. And so you would follow a structured path and have an opportunity to receive guidance and feedback on your work from our instructor. And again, those instructors are people who are working in the field and have really in-depth knowledge of the practice of accounting and the theoretical principles behind it. Principles of Financial Accounting is a prerequisite for some of our other courses, including Intermediate Accounting. Part 2 also has another prerequisite, which is Part 1. So that would be offered at a different thing. So if you've already taken Principles of Financial Accounting, or if you have similar experience, you can let us know, and we can see if we can waive the prerequisite. We'll also be offering accounting for governmental and nonprofit organizations in spring, as well as ethics in accounting. And then looking ahead to summer, we offer the Principles of Financial Accounting course again in the summer. Again, that's a great entry point to the program. And we will be offering Principles of Cost Accounting, Intermediate Accounting Part 1, which again is that prerequisite to Part 2, Auditing, and Financial Statement Analysis. So some of those are some of the exciting courses that we have coming up. Another thing that I want to share about our online courses is the tools that we use. So our courses are delivered through Canvas, the learning management system, where you'd be able to participate in discussion forums and submit assignments online and interact with your instructor and colleagues. And then some of our courses may also use Zoom, which is this technology, so you can have some live interaction with instructors and other students. So we'll go back and talk to Terry now. Terry, are you able to hear us?
I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Oh, awesome. I'm so sorry. I don't know what was going on with my connectivity.
No worries. We're glad to have you.
Well, thank you for having me on this call. I apologize to everyone for the technical issues. I figured out what had occurred, but at any rate, it sounds like you've gone over the majority of the program. And just to kind of, I didn't know if you wanted to ask me some specific questions or if you just wanted me
Yeah.
to speak to.
Well, Terry, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Obviously, you have a lot of experience in business, and we would love to hear about just that sort of brief intro to yourself, and then we'll ask you some questions.
Certainly. I am a business professional. I started off in technology straight out of undergraduate about 20 plus years ago. And I morphed into more of a business sales and marketing role. And that's where I spent the bulk of my career. But what I started looking at during some shifts in our economy back in 2008, I looked at the turnover in my industry. I looked at, where I wanted to be 20 years from now, career-wise, and starting to augment my skills. And I started looking at what industries were very stable and what kind of professions were pretty much ubiquitous. And accounting is an excellent profession. I did a lot of research on the profession, and it's in every industry. Everywhere you look, there is a need for an accountant or a CPA. And so I started researching the programs that were available to me and seeing how they would, augment my skills. And the people that I talked to, and a few of the professors, they talked about accounting being a recession-proof profession. And as someone who is currently working in an accounting role and going through a lot of interviews, I can tell you it absolutely is a recession-proof industry, that profession specifically. My background was pretty much, it was utilizing a lot of aspects of thinking like an accountant, but there was a lot of information that I needed that accounting provides. Accounting is a language of business, and it fills in those holes that you don't necessarily have in your toolkit. And so it made me a better, well-rounded professional. And now I'm seeing that bridge, that connection in the different industries I've looked at and interviewed with as an accountant. And it's just created this complete picture for me where I had those knowledge gaps before. I don't know if you want to ask me a specific question or just.
Yeah, no, that's great. So when you were looking, considering your options, how did you choose UC Davis Extension? What appealed to you?
I compared quite a few programs, and I started narrowing them down based on a couple of key things that really were key for me. The modality was a big factor. Were the classes available online? The quality of the instruction, were the instructors real world experts in their respective areas of accounting? Were they strictly academians? Cost was another factor, and timeline. How long would it take me to complete the program? And so when I searched for a program that I thought would fit my particular needs and, balance with my work life, home life, UC Davis was on the top of my list. I looked at the cost. It was equal to any other program out there, but I noticed that it was, less costly. I liked the profile of the instructors. I liked the modality. I consequently completed my entire program online. I had given myself 2 years to do it, and I completed it in about 18 months. And, just looking back, one of the major things that appealed to me with the extension program at UCD was that it assumes you have no prior accounting experience or education. And that's where I wanted to start, because my goal was to become a CPA and I intend to schedule my first exam this fall.
So
It was
Terry,
something that was important to me because some programs out there, they required a prerequisite or two before you can enter a certificate program. That just feasible.
Okay, so Terry, I think we're getting a little bit of interference with your audio, so we'll just try to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll just try to keep an eye on that. I know that you were just sharing that that the fact that you could enter the program without necessarily prior experience or prior educational requirements was a key point for you. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Great. And what are some of the key skills that you learned, or like some of the projects that you worked on, or things that you did in your classes that really translated into your career that you saw an immediate gain from?
Well, at the time that I started the program, I was serving on a board of directors as the finance and budget chair. And my second class that I took was in governmental accounting. And I was amazed by the immediate connection of being able to apply what I was learning about governmental and nonprofit accounting to that environment, and being able to take very technical information, being able to communicate with the accountant for the nonprofit and break down those, numbers to non-numbers people. The majority of our board was not comprised of business people, but of educators. And so financial statements were not something they were used to looking at. They weren't used to looking through things like that and making very wise decisions financially, determining how they would, allocate money for the nonprofit. So that was an immediate use of those skills. And I also was, let's see, at that time, I'm trying to think, I took governmental accounting, and I also took financial statement analysis. And that was, again, another huge skill set, asset for me, because it was just a great pairing at that time. And, since then, just looking back at all the classes, each class, you're going to walk away with a skill set, because accounting builds on itself. One of the things you will learn as you progress through the program, every course you take has significant tools to teach you, and they build on one another. And there, is this entire quantitative and very conceptual thought process, these skills that you develop throughout the program. Another very essential skill set in the governmental accounting is when I transitioned into doing internships with the government and working on governmental financial statements and being able to work on different federal awards, I was able to translate those skills directly from the class into those particular jobs and those roles. Overall, there's just so much you will gain going through the program. You will become, very well versed in accounting. You will learn the core essentials that you need to prepare you for the CPA exam. And you will feel confident when you come out that you are capable of going into any entry-level accounting position or preparing for your CPA exam, whatever your particular goal is. You will be prepared. The instructors are excellent. Their experience is, you're talking about people with over 20 and 30 years of experience in the bulk of these courses. So my being able to approach them with questions that sometimes, yes, they were founded in the particular class I was taking that quarter, but a lot of times I was applying them to my job or my service on that, on the board of the nonprofit. They were able to answer questions that otherwise I would have to figure out on my own.
That's
and
great.
So having that accessibility to those professors was hugely impactful for me.
Great. And what advice do you have for prospective students?
My advice is to really look at your work-life balance and know that this particular program, for me, my life was super busy. Just as a caveat, while I was attempting to get through my program, I was also in graduate school at the same time. So I was handling a master's degree plus this program, work, and serving on a nonprofit. I wouldn't suggest going through a master's program at the same time, but I was able to do that because the modality of this program,
being able to access my professors. Time management is your biggest skill to managing your course load. My biggest advice to you is to look at your current work schedule, because most people who are going through extension are working professionals. Look at your work and life schedule and know that you can get through these classes and you can do very well in them. I was able to look at all the classes being offered each quarter, and I literally scheduled every single class through my entire program during my first quarter. And I was able to adjust my work-life balance with my academic pursuits. Every single quarter I knew what, how to plan and schedule my life. And you want to look at your program the way you look at a job. You want to set aside time to be in class, to participate in your chat room, to deal with your homework, because when you're dealing with an online program, if you choose to pursue all of your classes online, you need to really manage your time. That's one of the biggest takeaways I had, was time management, but I did it. And if I had to do it again, I would do this program again.
Great.
Because it was excellent for me. It really was easy to manage my time. I got really good at that.
Great. So let's see if we have any questions. I'm going to check in here. Michelle, do you see any questions from participants?
So there are some questions, and maybe it's something we'll try to answer, but Terry may have some insight too. So one of the questions was, is there a preferred course order? And Joanna talked a little bit about prerequisites. Of course, you want to start with principles because it's the prerequisite for everything else. My personal advice would be to focus on the required courses first. So Intermediate Accounting 1, Intermediate Accounting 2, these are things you want to kind of make sure, like Terry said, you have a course, even if it's a loose course plan, but something where you've looked at the schedules and you've kind of thought through what works for you. And then I would use the electives, depending if you're doing the short program or the longer CPA program, use the electives to fill in when schedules, maybe a required course isn't particularly offered that term, or you've already taken everything that's offered. This is especially true at the end. So there isn't a set order. You just need to keep an eye on the prerequisites. And again, I would front load the required courses just because that's good sense. Terry, what were your thoughts on this?
I agree with front loading the required courses, but something else that I did, I reached out to my professors. Naturally, you're going to start with financial accounting because that is your foundational course and you have to begin there. But I did reach out to my professors and ask them, based on the courses I was looking at over the next couple of quarters, how would they pair them? Because there are some areas of accounting that pair better with others when you are in the same quarter, and some that you really need to kind of keep them separate. For example, I took governmental accounting my second quarter because governmental accounting is such a departure from your full accrual accounting, because governmental accounting is based on fund accounting. And if you wait and take it till the very end of your program, it's literally like learning another entire type of accounting to some degree. So take it early on in your program. That is a very personal choice, but I was glad that I took it in my second quarter because I learned it, and then I've continued on with the program. There are certain classes that pair well together. Intermediate Accounting 1 and 2 should be taken separately. Even though some people might get ambitious and want to take them together, I would highly recommend that you keep those separate.
Great. That's a good point, Terry. So one thing we didn't mention earlier was we do allow students to take prerequisites and subsequent courses concurrently. But as Terry said, that is not the ideal, especially with something like Intermediate Accounting 1 and 2, which build so much on one another. Another question we had was workload. How many courses should I take a quarter? And Terry talked about her approach, which was a quite accelerated course plan because she knew her lifestyle and she knew when she wanted to finish. But a rule of thumb for us is to recommend just one course per term. You do have 5 years to complete a certificate program, so we don't try to rush people. We know they have other priorities, but one course per quarter is the most typical. And also, if you are on the certificate track and you realize you need to take a term off because of workload or a family concern, that's no problem. You know, you want to pay attention to the schedule of offerings, but there's no problem taking, you know, one course a quarter for several quarters and then taking a quarter off. Some people, for example, take the summer quarter off all the time just because of their schedules. So we really tried to design it with a lot of flexibility, realizing that most of our attendees are working professionals.
I would add to that, I agree with you 100%. I took my intermediate 1 and intermediate 2 accounting courses as the only course on those quarters. That summer I took intermediate 1, that fall quarter I took intermediate 2, because I knew that they were going to be very heavy courses and I didn't want to risk, you know, missing a step, because accounting builds on itself, and you want to make certain that you really grab the concepts as you move forward.
Okay, great. Well, I think it's really helpful. If anyone thinks of any questions for Terry after we've moved on, no problem. You can just send them to us and we'll forward them on to Terry, or, you know, try to answer them from a program perspective as well. Thank you so much, Terry. This has really been helpful, and we really appreciate your insight and reflections. It's really, really insightful. I think at this point, we're going to move ahead with the program.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you. Great. So we're going to move ahead and just get back to where we had left off, which was talking about, in addition to one of the great benefits of taking some of our courses, specific courses actually do help you if you decide to pursue the UC Davis Graduate School of Management's Master of Professional Accountancy program. Some of our courses can be used as prerequisites for that. And so when you have questions or when you're enrolling, we're happy to advise you on that and also connect you with UC Davis Graduate School of Management as needed. So now we're going to talk about some of the program discounts. Each course is $880 normally, but we like to really help you find the best discount that we can when you enroll.
So we have a variety of discounts. We always let people know that the discounts can't be stacked. So you'll want to kind of run the numbers and decide which discount is best for you. So one of our most popular discounts is the early enrollment. We find that typically accounting students are pretty big planners. So this is a wonderful opportunity. If you enroll 2 weeks prior to the start date of the class, you'll get $50 right off the top. So that's a very easy one if you're someone who is going to plan your courses, you know your schedule, and you just want to go ahead and commit. Another discount is $50 off for members of the Cal Aggie Alumni Association. That also extends to members of UC Alumni Associations. And we always let people know you don't have to be a graduate of UC Davis or other UCs to join. The Aggie Alumni Association is open to everyone. So sometimes parents join, or people who have live in town or have an affiliation, but anyone can join the Cal Aggie Alumni Association. There's also a 10% discount if your organization or company, for example, wants to send 3 or more people. We do want to let you know that you'd want to enroll everyone at the same time, and they would have to be taking the same courses. So it can't just be that 3 people at your company are, you know, interested in accounting in general. You'd be taking the courses together. And then the last discount, which is really the best one in this list, is for attending this information session. So when we send you the code after the session ends, you'll be able to use that when you register for your first course.
And that's especially helpful right now for spring, because the early enrollment discount, I think, you know, we're right at that timeline, but we would recommend that you do the $100 off.
Yeah.
Is a great way if you're ready to go for spring.
I should highlight too that the information session discount is a one-time, but those other discounts, you can use them for every course. So I want to talk a little bit about ways to finance your education. As you may already know, we're not a full-time matriculated degree program, so we don't have kind of traditional financial aid grants and such the way you might have had for your undergraduate experience. But we do have some educational loans and training funds, and we're really fortunate to have an expert right here on our staff. So Diane Kars with our Student Services Unit, and she's very knowledgeable. We have some partnerships with different lending institutions for preferred interest rates for student loans and such. These are personal loans, so the money would go to you and then you would use it to enroll. In certain cases, the bank does require evidence of enrollment before releasing the funds, and that's where Diane is essential. In those cases, she can go ahead and enroll for you and help you facilitate the funding. She's also an expert on local and federal government job training funds, as well as veterans educational benefits such as the GI Bill. So if you think you're eligible for any kind of special funding through the public sector or the military, you definitely want to start off by contacting Diane. We're also going to go ahead and include Diane's contact information in the follow-up email you'll get at the end of the week. So don't worry if you can't write it down right now.
All right, so now, before we turn it over to Janae to talk about the path to becoming a CPA, we're really curious to hear how many of you are interested in this program specifically because you're planning to take the CPA exam. So obviously there's a clear yes or a no, but if you're not sure, go ahead and indicate that so we know kind of what's on your mind. We're giving it just another minute to get everybody's responses in, and then we'll display the results. Great. So that looks like we have quite a few people who are interested in hearing about this, the CPA exam. And Terry shared a little bit about it. Obviously, that was one of the key things that she was looking for in a program, was to be on that path. And again, if you're not sure about this, you can always enroll in the Principles of Financial Accounting class, and then talk with our instructors, talk with our program staff, and we're happy to help you navigate that decision point. So let's turn it over to Janae. And Janae, would you mind first starting by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about Becker Professional Education?
Great, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Janae Klinke. I'm the account manager for Becker Professional Education in California and Nevada. Becker Professional Education is an organization that works with universities, firms, and corporations to assist in students, employees, and staff getting licensed towards their CPA process. So we basically assist you in providing resources and information to get you where you need to go. And myself, I've worked with UC Davis Extension for the last 4 years, assisting their students, just making sure they have all of the resources, and the program itself is a great resource to make sure that you guys are meeting those educational requirements, which is step 1 in becoming a CPA. Educational requirements vary by jurisdiction and state, so you want to make sure that you're checking with the specific jurisdiction in which you reside. The easiest way to do that, to find out what your specific educational requirements are, is to go to NASBA's website, which is nasba.org. And I believe there will be a brochure that gets sent out after this presentation that will have all of this information in it as well. And NASBA's website will give a breakdown for every single state board. So as an example, in California, the educational requirements can be a little tricky to read in terms of what the requirements to sit for the exam are versus what the requirements to get licensed for the exam are. And that's why a program such as this UC Davis Extension program is very beneficial, because it will help you get through those requirements needed for both sitting and licensure, and help put you on the right track and get you closer to where you need to be. Usually, once the educational requirements are met, people will then apply to take the CPA exam. Application process, again, also varies by jurisdiction, but typically falls through AICPA. AICPA is the national governing body for certified public accountants. And AICPA is the institution that creates, develops, and scores the CPA exam. And most application processes will go through your state board, NASBA, or AICPA. Again, varies by state. Again, as an example, in California, people apply directly to the California State Board to make sure that they can be approved to actually sit and take the exam. Once you receive an approval saying that you are approved to take the exam, that's called an NTS, a notice to schedule. Once you receive a notice to schedule is typically good for 6 to 9 months. Also, again, varies by jurisdiction. But even though it's only good for 6 to 9 months, it's an easy reapply, which means at the end of, say, 9 months, you just do a reapply process. It's about a 2-week process just to get a reapply approval, and you can continue to test. One of the things that's important to note about the CPA exam is there are 4 parts to the exam, which is financial, which would be closely aligned to intermediate accounting. You also have audit, you have regulation, which is tax, and then you have business. And those 4 parts, all 4 have to be passed within one 18-month rolling cycle. So it's good to make sure that you, as Terry was mentioning, make sure you're planning and preparing and carving things out as best you can to know that you'll have an 18-month window to get them all passed together. When you actually go through and have received your notice to schedule, you've applied, you're kind of in that process, you're going to be, taking all of the concepts that you've learned throughout your UC Davis extension course, and you're going to be really trying to put those together and create a study plan for yourself that's allowing you, as again Terry mentioned, which is sort of strategically trying to target a certain section at a time. You're not going to want to take multiple sections, but you're going to want to look at the best option for yourself in terms of which section to take first and which section to take next. A really good rule of thumb usually is you want to look at those sections that do have similar content or information. So typically in that case, you're looking at financial and audit tend to be the 2 CPA exam sections that have somewhat of similar content, and regulation and business have somewhat similar content. So you can kind of break those up. And even though you have 18 months, it's good to, I always say, tell yourself you have a year, knock one out every quarter, and that kind of puts it into an easier perspective since we're all used to taking quarter classes anyway. And then when you get through the process of getting your notice to schedule and being able to actually go test, you want to be familiar with Prometric. Prometric is the actual testing facility where you will go take the CPA exam. There are Prometric facilities everywhere in every major city. And you can test at any Prometric for any state approval. So as an example, and I say this because as you start to work in the accounting field, you may have clients in various states or jurisdictions, or you may travel for your job. And if you are approved by one state, you can still test anywhere because this is a national test. So as example, if you are living in California and working in California, and you have applied to California State Board and got approved, but then you get sent to Colorado to work, you can still test in Colorado if that timeline matches when you want to test. So good to know. Also, Prometric's website, which is also in the brochure that'll be sent out, if you go to prometric.com, they have about an 8-minute video that walks you through the entire testing process. So what to expect on exam day, what the actual testing facility looks like, and you can schedule a test drive with Prometric, which they will allow you to go in and actually go through the whole process. And it's about a 30-minute window that they give you just to kind of experience it, which is always a really great thing to do. And then for the CPA exam licensure, again, you've gone through this process of meeting your educational requirements. You've gone through your application. You've studied. You've gone to Prometric. You've taken the exam, and you've passed. Once you've passed all 4, licensure usually is also dependent upon work experience. So one of the best forms of advice that I can give you, if you have not already been working in the accounting field, or I know many of you said you were looking for a job change or looking to enhance your skills, one thing you might want to start to take a look at is internships or leadership programs, or ways that you can start to obtain some additional accounting work experience while you're pursuing your educational goals. And that way, by the time you pass all 4 parts of the exam, you will have obtained that work experience, and then you can apply for licensure.
Thank you.
So those are your steps to becoming a CPA, yes.
Okay, great. That's really helpful. Thank you, Janae.
And as Janae mentioned, there will be some information that we'll send out, including her contact information, so that you can learn more about Becker as well. And then we'll turn it over for some questions, and you're welcome to continue submitting questions both for Janae and then for Michelle and I, and we'll start with a couple that we've already gotten and go from there.
So one of the questions was, how many hours per week should I plan on devoting to each class? So the majority of the accounting courses are 4 credit units. In a traditional classroom environment, that would have been 40 hours of instruction. And so what we recommend to students online is to follow the same rule of thumb. So that's about 8 to 10 hours of work as a student. And that would be viewing the lessons or what would have been the lectures, doing the associated readings, preparing your assignments, participating in the online discussion, which is going to be part of your grade, and then taking any quizzes and exams. So that's a kind of a good rule of thumb. And because it's a synchronous class, which means that each lesson is covered in a week and the assignments associated with that lesson, no.
Well, technically it's an asynchronous class, meaning that there is a weekly schedule, but you can log in at any time that you want to take this course.
That's true.
With pre-recorded lessons.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a little different than the classrooms. That's right. So you have a lot of flexibility within the week, but it's not self-paced. Within that week, you would complete that particular lesson. And then someone else had a question about the format of the online classes. What are those like?
So I think, you can imagine it as sort of, for those of you who are familiar with Canvas, and if not, we are happy to help kind of give you an orientation to that. When you go in, you'll have an introduction to the course and from your instructor, and then each week you will have sort of a set of things to guide your learning. You'll have some assigned video or pre-recorded lessons where you'll get some content that relates to the topic of that week. You'll also be assigned some readings and possibly some other videos to watch. And then you'll go through and you'll have some assignments. So those could be, as Michelle mentioned, online discussion forums where you're answering questions and interacting with your colleagues in an online discussion forum. There will also be some assignments and projects that you'll complete, and you'll work with your instructor to get feedback on that. And then because it is accounting, we do have tests and quizzes where you'll be applying some of the skills and doing that. And I think there's often a question about specific times that you need to be online. The current structure of the program is that you can log on at any time, day or night, to complete all of these assignments. There will be due dates, and you will have to complete, certain things by certain times, but you have a range of possibilities. That's something that we're always interested in looking at as we continue to evolve at UC Davis Extension. We have found that there's good value in offering some live synchronous sessions where an instructor is online like we are right now with you. And so that's something that we'll be looking at for this program. But at this time, all of the lessons are pre-recorded, and most of the communication with your instructors could be through Canvas, through the discussion forums, or through email. Although instructors also have access to Zoom if they want to hold office hours or interact with you that way.
So we had a couple other questions. One was, how can I get accounting work experience? So one thing we do share with people here at UC Davis Extension is, we provide the educational information, the experience, and there are some assignments that will be akin to practical work experience, but we don't have a specific internship program. Your best resource in this way is often your instructors. They're all working professionals, they work in the accounting field, and they would have probably good insight into recommendations of where you might be able to find placement for an internship or gain more experience before you're actually finished becoming an accountant.
And I want to add, one of the things that we hear most often from students that they really love about their experiencing is that networking that happens, and we really do try to promote that, that your colleagues can be like great assets as you're considering different career paths or looking for jobs. We've often had people who are able to share opportunities that they know about. And so, even in our online courses, we really want to encourage everybody to build a community and to support each other on your sort of career journeys.
So, and this is a question that Jenny might have some insight, but someone had asked, what data do you have on UC Davis Extension accounting students' pass rate for the CPA exam? We don't keep that kind of data once students leave the program and sit for the exam. I don't know, Jenny, do you know if the CPA boards at the different states do keep any kind of data on where students receive their education?
Yeah, that's a great question. You can go to NASBA's website, nasba.org, and they usually do have some databases and information about universities, programs, and employers of different pass rates. So definitely something I would encourage people. You can do a little bit of research and see if you can find some additional information on that.
Someone else has asked about, if I decide to work in the public center for the government, will I need a CPA? So Janae, I'm going to ask you to help me out. I was under the impression that if you do work, especially for the state of California, they don't require a CPA certification to work as an accountant. Is that your understanding as well?
That is correct. In terms of private sector or government, it is not required to be licensed as a CPA. However, I will say in the last 2 years, I've seen definitely an upward trend to people getting it because it does assist in knowledge base, especially as an example, new tax law came out this year. So having that testable knowledge and being able to have, the letters after your name is definitely important career-wise.
Great, thank you.
I think that wraps up the questions we've been receiving online. Again, just as with our other guest speakers, if you have any questions you think of after we've left, feel free to email us and we'll make sure to get the answer for you or get in touch with Terry or Janae. Thank you so much, Janae, for stepping in. It was really helpful to have that insight.
Great. And as Michelle mentioned,
Thank you.
Send us your questions, contact us. We're happy to help you figure out a plan that really works with your schedule and with your interests and your needs. And we're also really interested in hearing what courses appeal to you or that you're looking for so that we can really make sure that we are delivering what you are most interested in. So thank you very much for being here today. And as Michelle mentioned earlier, we'll be sending you the $100 discount. And again, we look forward to really talking with you and seeing you in our classes soon.
Yeah, and we have recorded this session and we'll post it on our website in the next few weeks. So if you had any colleagues or friends that you know are interested in learning more about the program but they couldn't attend, please encourage them to check out the video on the website. Unfortunately, they won't receive the $100 discount. That's just for you all, but it's still some really worthwhile information.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.